Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now we got a guest on in just a second. How you doing, Pems Hets, Mally Bites, Rhonda Bourne, and everyone else who was online? We got an interesting kind of topic today, and that's paedophile normalization, because for some reason that's now being accepted slowly and more prevalently by society. We're now being told to accept paedophiles and use the term minor attracted persons, which we'll get into in just a second. There's a new story on that. And they're encouraging pedophilia. So not only do we have Balenciaga, not only do we have RSC, but we also have child sex robots, which we'll get into in just a second as well. How you doing, everyone? So we've got a guest on, Citizen Sid, who has her own YouTube channel, Telegram channel, and all of that, does her own independent journalism, gets a lot of flack off Antifa, especially the ones in Norwich, and people like Felix Fern. I want to say people because who knows what that is. Which we'll get into in just a second. How you doing, Tommy AU? But anyway, let's bring her on anyway. How you doing, Sid?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. So I saw you did a kind of video regarding the child sex robots. I'm actually going to bring up the article here, which is, I think it's this one, yeah. Letting pedophiles live out their perverted sexual fantasies, and it just refreshed for some reason. Using child sex robots might stop them harming kids, researchers controversially suggest. So do you want to give me your kind of thoughts on this before we go into it more depth?
Yeah, sure. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. If people are gonna get used to like, say if you got addicted to doing something like that because you can't live out your sexual fantasies properly, and I guess it wouldn't have the same effect as a robot as it actually would a person, which is disgusting to say that, but unfortunately it has to be said. If you grow an addiction to it, you're gonna have to have more to fulfill you. It's known with like sex offences and in general, starting with porn addictions. It's just you get so immune to it that you then go on to sexually abusing people, then rape, then sometimes murder. So it's just going to cause more of that.
Yeah, well, I've spoken quite a bit on porn addiction. There was something interesting that a lot of people didn't know, is that Israel took over, was it areas in Palestine by kind of infecting all the TV channels with porn and getting men addicted to it, which would kind of make them weaker and more vulnerable. But as you've said, the problem with porn addiction is that it leaves you wanting more. Now, porn actually is a reason that a lot of young people would rather watch porn than have sex. But it also leads on to stuff like more kind of fetish play, like so you watch. I know you know more about your fetishes than I do, because I see loads of.
That's so weird saying it like that.
It's weird saying it like that, but you use really big words I've seen on your Instagram story and stuff like that, stuff that I don't even know what is. But there's stuff like age play, rape role play. You've got, and then you look in the comment section and people are just really disgusting, right?
Yeah.
So you get into watching these really weird fetishes, like age play, for example, and it kind of leads on to you wanting the real thing, and so it could be said that it's a big part of why pedophiles go out and commit horrific acts on children, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, the child sex robots, for one, it's not going to help. It's definitely going to create the problem. Now, in a bit, we're going to get into it, but there is a company that's tied to Balenciaga that actually manufactures child sex robots already, if you didn't know that.
I didn't, but I'm hardly surprised.
Yeah, exactly. As well as that, they've been tied to some other companies which have been putting out some very graphic images of children and stuff like that, we'll also get into. But let's give this a quick read. So, letting paedophiles live out their perverted fantasies using sex robots might stop them harming children, researchers have controversially suggested. Adult-sized devices could also be used by potential rapists and others interested in violent sex under the same contentious theory. Experts today fumed it would be a grave mistake for medics to even contemplate the idea. Sickening child sex dolls can already be bought on some dark corners of the internet, although it is illegal to import a child sex doll into the UK. Shockingly, there is no law specifically making it an offence to own or make one. So, what do you think about that? Should there be a law in place?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, and you see the people like growing, like how many reports at the moment with people having child pornography? Only
Mm.
some people are getting done for it. Some people are saying, "Oh, yeah, they haven't done anything with it," and things like that. It's sort of the same. Like you still are imagining a child at the end of the day. Like it, and paedophilia in itself is a sexual disorder. It's a paraphilia. It's not an orientation. To make it into an orientation is disgusting.
Yeah.
To normalize it as such again is disgusting. Like it is a disorder at the end of the day. If you bring in like child sex dolls, it's just gonna bring in the disorder even more.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like the Gender Recognition Act 2004, which basically allow you have to provide a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, and then you can change your gender. It's not curing anything. It's not curing that gender dysphoria. It's encouraging it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like people go to therapy to help pedophilia and things like that. And apparently it helps. I wouldn't know, but I guess if there's therapists for it, I guess some people would say it helps. So like if you get therapy for something, why are we encouraging it?
Yeah. Well, there's some debate as to whether therapy even works with regards to
I don't think so.
exactly, because a lot of the time, when someone's caught with child pornography, instead of going to prison, or even if they're caught raping a child, a lot of the time they'll actually be given court-ordered therapy for their disgusting perversions, not
Yeah,
any prison sentence, just a slap on the wrist.
yeah,
So
if you
again, is
if you commit if you commit a crime, especially against the child,
mm,
you should get locked up for it. Like fair enough if you go to like one of those like hospital prisons, you know that like they help with your mental health and the way you're thinking, but they're also literally a prison, you can't leave it. They act as if it was prison and things like that. Those fair enough, but like just a therapist, if you don't get time for it at all, if you're still allowed to roam about, like what that's just absolutely ridiculous.
yeah, absolutely, and it's already bad enough that they get less time in prison than people who sell weed or even smoke weed. They get what? I think there's some instances where they've got about 9 years. You can get
Mhm.
15 years for selling weed,
Yeah.
which is just for one that's absolutely vile. That raping a kid you get a slap on the wrist for. Um, but yeah, there was also I don't know if you've heard of something called anonymity orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they actually started with the murder of James Bulger. The two young boys who killed him, I think they were 10 and 11 at the time. They were basically given, they went to prison for 8 years until they turned 18. And then they were given lifelong anonymity orders, basically meaning that the taxpayer pays for them to go through life with kind of changing their passports, changing their identity constantly, and paying for them to live, so that they're not at risk of getting any vengeance being put upon them. And then that kind of set off a little precedent. So baby killers can now apply for lifelong anonymity orders, right? So you could be living next to a paedophile and you would have no idea. How vile is that?
Yeah. It is just like yeah, that is incredible. Like if you it's the whole point of like you know how you always teach your kids don't talk to strangers and things like that. That like there's a reason for that, and even that is now being thought of like oh yeah that's a really stupid rule, even though it's not. But like it's just it plays into just not people protecting their kids anymore. No one
Yeah.
cares about protecting their kids. Well, people do, thankfully, but eventually they're not going to.
Yeah, well, I've heard of a few of the oldies, including our own Dan, that that in 1995 and those kind of years ago, you wouldn't have to deal with stuff like this. You wouldn't have you wouldn't be worried about your kid going out and playing outside. But nowadays, you have to.
Well, yeah, I mean, back in the day, you'd know who the paedophile is down the street and you'd go and beat him up. Now you can't do that.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. There were websites for it, weren't there, where you could
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
and amber alerts as well. But as you said, they don't do that anymore. They don't like back then you would be put on the sex offender register for life. Nowadays, you get put on it for 5 years, 3 years, any amount of years. You don't get put on there for life. So even if you're a paedophile, do you know what I mean? It's all
Yeah.
about just not getting caught. If you don't get caught, then after 5 years, do you get what I mean? You don't have
Yeah.
to. You'd have to live your life without a computer. It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
It is very ridiculous.
Yeah, but we got another article here. So when I was Welsh Red Pill, which was before I run Shins Against Tyranny or anything else, we actually found child pornography on Twitter. It basically, the way they would set it up, right? I don't know if you know this. You wouldn't be able to type in the username to the search function. You'd have to tweet out the username and click it. So it'd be like a link, basically, and it would take you to a Twitter account that was filled to the brim with child pornography. Now we've got an article here from the New York Post, basically saying that they refused to remove child pornography because it didn't violate policies.
God.
Yeah. Now we've all been banned off Twitter. I can't count how many times, especially Dan and Stan. I don't know if you have as well.
Thankfully not. Not Twitter, but YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, right. Well, you can we would get banned off Twitter for a different point of view that was harmful, but child pornography that involves a child getting raped, and let's not remove that because it doesn't violate any of our policies.
Yeah, you can get removed for saying you don't want your children to be raped, but you can you can get removed for saying you don't want your child to be raped potentially by an illegal.
Yep.
But child porn, that's fine. Just bring it in. That's fine.
That's a good point you bring up because Tommy Robinson was banned for pointing out that Islamic grooming gangs, grooming gangs primarily led by Pakistani Muslim men, were raping kids, and he was banned for that. But child pornography, yeah, we'll keep that on there.
Yeah. It's very twisted.
Yeah, so just zooming in. There we go. And have you got the keyboard? Thanks. Yeah, so, right, let's give this a quick read then. Twitter refused to take down widely shared pornographic images and videos of a teenage sex trafficking victim because an investigation didn't find a violation of the company's policies, a scathing lawsuit alleges. The federal suit filed Wednesday by the victim and his mother in the Northern District of California alleges Twitter made money off the clips, which showed a 13-year-old engaged in sex acts. So it's not as if they just allowed it to be there. They made money off it. They profited off child pornography.
Yeah.
And are a form of child sexual abuse of material or child porn, the suit states. The teen, who is now 17 and lives in Florida, is identified only as John Doe and was between 13 and 14 years old when sex traffickers posing as a 16-year-old female classmate started chatting with him on Snapchat, the suit alleges. So, what are your first thoughts on this?
I'm thankful that it's a horrible thing, but I'm thankful it wasn't younger than 13, but it's still so wrong. It's hardly surprising from Twitter that it didn't remove. Well, it is a bit surprising, but it's hardly shocking as well. Like it's Twitter at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think since we get Elon Musk back now, which I feel like I don't trust Elon Musk. I think him opening up Twitter to free speech is a way for the 77th to come along, create a race war, and get free speech banned altogether. Yeah. But at least we're not going to see child pornography on a platform that banned Trump for peacefully gathering people together, which were the words he used, right? But apparently he incited a riot. So
even after he asked people to stop, didn't he, as well? He asked people to just go home and no one did. But it's not his fault. It's just everyone else's fault.
Yeah, absolutely. He asked people to go home, and then but they were being encouraged to enter the building by the police, if you remember them waving everyone in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hold on. Any yes, I'm Islamophobic. Thank you for noticing. Commenting. Oh, how you doing, Sasha? Yeah, Sasha's on. Right, awesome. I'll see you Saturday, Sasha. Right. So now you may have seen this. I'm going to show you the quick video first, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. So this is Minor Attracted People.
Stop calling them that. You're not allowed to label people like that.
What?
Stop it, Diego.
Yeah, no,
we're not going to call them that. We're going to call them MAPs. No. Minor Attracted Persons. No. So don't judge people just because they want to have sex with a 5-year-old.
What the fuck?
Have you seen that?
No, I've seen something similar. I haven't seen that one. Don't judge people for wanting to have sex with a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
What an interesting phrase.
The biggest argument always is that it's a disorder. So as long as they're not actually having sex with children, then it's fine. They can want it if they want.
No, they can't. No, they can't. The thing is, you have to think with like things like that, impulses happen, and impulses build up until you actually act on them or get help for them.
Yeah.
So, but people choose to ignore that until something actually happens, and even then they choose to ignore it because they don't want to be held responsible for that.
Yeah. Well, this is a minor attracted persons thing. It is a way to slowly normalize pedophilia, and we're going to get into it in just a second. But they do want to, decriminalize sex with minors. You may have seen now we're on a steep decline to becoming a minority in our own country. You may have seen the amount of Muslims online at the moment talking about making the UK an Islamic country. And the thing is, when we become an Islamic country, then any girl can that any man can have sex with a young girl as long as she's had a period, right?
Yeah.
So at any age, and then they do forced marriages as well. So that's why in Saudi Arabia and those countries you get 40-year-old men marrying 9-year-old girls. And the way I think they're going to do that is is because, as you know, it takes 5 years for them to earn once they enter illegally, it takes 5 years to earn the right to vote, to earn a British passport. And then I think they're going to set up a Sharia party, and they're going to be the majority. So I feel like we are on a steep decline to decriminalizing sex with minors. I don't know if you have the same thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely do. Like minor attractive persons, it doesn't seem like a big deal when you phrase it like that. It's the phrase that matters. Like paedophilia, everyone knows what paedophilia is, and people know it's wrong. So if you rephrase it to something that sounds a little bit tamer, then people will think, oh yeah, it's a minor attractive person. That's fine, as long as they're attracted to them and don't act on it. Like you said, it's totally fine, which it really isn't. Like I was saying to my parents the other day, it's like even if you're having those thoughts about a kid, you're taking away their innocence without them even knowing about it. Like either way, it's disgusting if they did or not. But it's just it's so wrong on so many levels as well. When did I join Snapchat? I think I was 14 when I joined Snapchat. I was just coming up to being 15. The amount of people, foreigners, who would message me randomly, either with an inappropriate photo or asking for or trying to get me to help them come over to the UK and meet up with me and begging me for money for it is insane. And these are like well over 30 years old.
See, they don't even need to be in the UK to be caught messaging children.
Exactly. But you can't, like, obviously that was a law put in place in the UK. It's like inappropriate photos can be up to 2 years in prison, is it now? If they're caught and everything. But if they're from another country, you can't really do anything about it.
Well, even if they're in the UK and if they come from another country because they have a poor background, there's still nothing done about them.
Yeah.
They call us Islamophobic, but the thing is, right, the police are the ones who are Islamophobic. They are scared of the Islamic mob and are scared to do anything about the grooming gangs for fear of being called racist. So they're the Islamophobes because a phobia is a fear of something, right?
Yeah.
Though it's not irrational.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, talking about that video then about the minor attracted persons, right? An article then came out and we finally got a face to that, right? So let me just close that. Pictured a Texas teacher who was fired for telling students don't judge people for wanting to have sex with 5-year-olds and asking them to call paedophiles minor attracted persons in disturbing classroom clip posted to TikTok. Yeah. So let's get this read. Amber Parker, 53, who taught English at Franklin High School in El Paso, was sacked from her job after making the comments in class, which were captured on video and subsequently shared to social media. During the 18-second long clip that was posted to TikTok, the teacher can be heard telling students, stop calling them that. Now, talking about the schooling system as well, I wanted to ask, do you think that RSE, so relationship and sexual education, the new disgusting curriculum that are entering schools from the ages 3+, do you reckon that's going to play a big part in normalizing and kind of encouraging pedophilia?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. If like 3-year-olds in general aren't having those thoughts, 5-year-olds in general, even 10-year-olds usually aren't having those sort of thoughts. Usually if they are, there's some like deep-rooted trauma in that. So if you're going to teach it from like age 3 and then a random kid gets like asked from an adult to do something, they're just like, oh yeah, well, this is normal because we're learning about it in school. This is just experiments, and like people are going to use it against them. It's like, oh yeah, you need to learn about this. Like I'm like a true crime junkie. I cannot remember the name of the person who did this, but they'd basically go to kids and be like, oh yeah, you have to do this with an adult at least once in your life because it's just something that people do. I think it was a dad talking to his daughter actually. But that's how he sexually abused her and things like that. It's getting easier and easier, unfortunately, with these sort of things as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They're teaching. They've got this sex dice game now that they're teaching to children. They've got the NEA LGBT Kilkus, which is like where they have recipe books for sadomasochism, and which is my favorite word, but I still don't know what it is after reading it many times. Which we'll be getting into in a second. Anyway, we've got it back up, and yeah. So yeah, I'll give everyone a graphic warning in comment because the content will get sick in a bit.
Brilliant, as usual.
Well, usually anyway, we're usually talking about like Felix Fern and him playing with dildos. So
that's such a funny video.
It is. I'm still scarred after you sent me that, but we'll be watching. We'll be having a look through some of that in a second as well. Anyway, but yeah, as you said, it is slowly sexualizing children and kind of getting them normalized to being it's kind of normalizing them to being sexualized and stuff like that. There was an incident not too long ago where a 5-year-old boy came home and started masturbating in front of his parents. There were these two 14-year-olds. And this was 4 years before RSC, by the way, as well. There were two 14-year-olds, and the male one raped the female one after sex education classes. Yeah. So, we're teaching this to children, then we're teaching them trans ideologies as well. Now, we know the problem with trans ideologies is trans regret. I shouldn't be saying this really, I'm doxing myself a little bit, but I used to dress up as a dress when I was like really, really, really young. Just want to clarify that I was really, really, really young. And,
well, most boys
now...
do.
Exactly. And now I'd have my genitals mutilated.
Well, I wanted to be a dog when I was little, so let's just be glad that was in early 2000s, 2010.
Yeah,
I would have grown up to be a furry.
Don't say it. So yeah, exactly. Nowadays, they're probably right. I'm going to put my daughter through surgery to become a dog, because that's the kind of stuff they do, right? So you're not allowed to label people like that. Stop it, Diogo. We're not going to call them that. Parker can be heard instructing her English students in the clip. We're going to call them MAPs, minor attracted persons. So don't judge people just because they want to have sex with 5-year-olds. Now this is the bitch here. Excuse my language. But she's got children.
It looks like the type of person to actually say that. She's got the face.
She does, yeah. But I mean, it's more concerning. Just look, she has 2 young kids. That one looks around 5.
What is the chances? How much are we betting that at least one of those parents are attracted to their children? Which is disgusting, but if she's defending paedophilia...
That's an interesting point. There's, is it called Stockholm syndrome? Is where, so say you're kidnapped by someone, you fall in love with the person who kidnapped you. It's called Stockholm syndrome. And it's kind of like that. Say your husband, the person you're married to, is sexually abusing your children. A lot of the times you will defend your husband.
Yeah, as well, maybe it's like, oh yeah, I have to do this, so then I feel less bad that I'm letting it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have to defend paedophilia and make every excuse possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it's good she was sacked.
Yeah, that is good, but I think she was only sacked because it came out publicly and went viral.
Because she was named and shamed.
Yeah, that it kind of shows the importance of independent journalism. I don't know if you looked over this when I sent it to you. Did you?
Yeah, I had a skim through it.
Right. I'm going to find out the section where it is. I think it's 14. Here it is. So this is the Feminist Declaration, for anyone who doesn't know, also called the Beijing Declaration, signed by over 160 countries, also signed by Pride and Swansea and councils as well, like Swansea Council signed it under Rob Stewart. And as you can see here, Section 14, respect the rights of all individuals to exercise autonomy over their own lives, including their sexualities, identities, and bodies, desires and pleasures, free from all types of discrimination, coercion, and violence. And I just want to point out that coercion, you coerce a child into having sex, right? Because they cannot give consent. Yeah. So just to say, it kind of contradicts itself, which we'll get into in just a second. Yeah. Where was I? And fully realize sexual and reproductive rights and ensure bodily autonomy, integrity, and sovereignty by taking the following actions, right? So ensure bodily autonomy, integrity, and sovereignty. How are they going to do that? Let's see. Eliminate all laws and policies that punish or criminalize same-sex intimacy, gender affirmation, abortion, HIV transmission, non-disclosure. Now, I find it interesting they mention abortion, because abortion, in my eyes, right, it depends on what the country wants, what the people, like the constituents, want, right? So we didn't vote. There was no referendum on whether we wanted to, whether the people wanted the feminist declaration signed, right? So they're going to try and push abortion despite the fact they haven't asked what the constituents want.
Yeah.
And now, I think it's a Tory policy as well that a lot of people who are Tories are pro-life. Is that right?
I would think so. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, interesting. And now this is the interesting part. I don't know if you read this, right? Including laws limiting legal capacity of adolescents. So, if anyone wants to know what that means, it means they want to decriminalize sex with minors.
Yeah.
Now, first off, what do you have any thoughts on this before we go deeper?
What, the first bit?
No, the limiting legal capacity of adolescents.
Oh, okay, I see. Ridiculous. Like, is it like fair? The legal age of sex should genuinely be. I think it is 16, but it literally is just like it's ignored anyway, as long as two parties consent. But also, the age gap matters, the maturity matters, mentality matters, and things like that. So, like, you wouldn't really. I think there would be a lot of fault seeing if a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old had sex, for example. But if a 14-year-old and a 15 had sex and it was both consensual, no one would care. If a 20-year-old and a 14-year-old had sex at the moment, that would be a crime.
Yeah.
But like it's not the same as it will be if this happens, and it will be seen as the same as a 24-year-old and a 30-year-old having sex, even though it's a little bit less. They're both adults at the end of the day. So it's gonna come to that. It's just gonna be pedophiles and people alike, like hebephilia, ephebophilia, I think that the other ones are called. They're just going to take advantage. Sorry?
Those terms are the ones, so if you have sex with someone over the age of 14 or something, then you're not a paedophile, you're a whatever.
Hebephile, I think.
Yeah, they love using those terms as well because no one understands what they mean.
Yeah, I learned them ages ago because when people were talking to me, I was saying paedophile, but then they're like, what? I was like, I'm not a kid though, so technically it's not paedophilia. So I taught myself those terms so then I could confuse them instead.
Bloody hell.
I know.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing though. I mean, in this day and age, I've known a mate who was shacking up with a 20-year-old, even older, and no one cares. Like, their parents may, but for the most part, no one cares.
Yeah.
So, the thing is, but it is getting normalized. I mean, when you look at the polls 100 years ago, about 10, 20 years ago, right? The polls were all asking how many people would be up for having sex before marriage. Yeah. And a lot of young people would answer, no, I'll have it, I want to lose my virginity after I get married, right? But nowadays, it's all, you don't see that anymore, right? It's been the Christian values of this country have been on the decline for absolutely ages. So how do I put it? It's not about sex after marriage anymore. It's about how young you can have it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, it's a competition.
Yeah,
you get these people as well, just competing of who can have sex with certain people closest and things like that as well. It's just like it is just a game more than anything now.
Yeah. So I'm guessing it was the same with you as well when you were in school. So about, people would be doing that kind of stuff at like 14, 13.
Yeah, but my best friend lied about it and said she lost hers at 12. Obviously, we're not friends anymore, but
Yeah.
she made it into a massive competition and things like that. She's like, oh yeah, I had sex at 12, and then like 2 years afterwards, she came to me. She's like, yeah, that was a lie.
Well,
It's like, yeah, I know that was a lie.
It's definitely a competition as to who can be the most sluttiest nowadays.
Mm.
So it is. Younger and younger, it is absolutely disgusting. And then you see stuff like this, right? I was wondering if there was something else here as well, because we wanted to. No. Right, I can. Yeah, I didn't know where it was. Right, okay, cool. Now I mentioned this to you as well. I don't know if we've gone through this before. Have I gone through this with you?
I don't think so, no.
Right, so this is on the NEA LGBTQ plus caucus, right? And that's basically a company set up by Uniseco, which are heavily involved with RSE in this country. And on their website, they've deleted it now because of the amount of uproar. There was a section called sex acts that don't get enough play. Now, this is aimed towards 9+. So let's go through the first one. I'm going to give everyone a graphic warning because I was told off last time I didn't do that on UNN. I'm going to give everyone a graphic warning before we have a look at this. Oh, wait, I want to read out a quick comment from Dan here. People don't have any respect for themselves anymore. Look at OnlyFans. Shocking.
Oh, I hate OnlyFans. I hate everyone who supports OnlyFans. I hate people calling it a job. There's no effort in it. You can literally put a photo of your elbow on it and people will pay you. There's no effort to OnlyFans. Shut up. Stop calling it a job.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And the sad thing about it, though, is, as you said, people can just post pictures of their elbow and get a lot of money for it. They can get about 14 grand a month just from stuff like that.
Yeah. I know if I ever go skin, I've always got an option, but I wouldn't do that because I've got more self-respect. But if it's that easy to make money, you've really got to rethink your life choices if that's what you're doing.
And alternatively, if you're a man who's paying for OnlyFans, looking at you, a few of you in the comments, then
That's
yeah,
so targeted.
only a little bit. So bondage, right? Let's have a look at what bondage is, because let's have a look at my favorite one, because I have no idea what any. I still can't remember what these are after reading it so many times. Sadomasochism, right? So, by the way, I do want to point out as well. All this kind of stuff is based off queer theory. Now, if anyone doesn't know what queer theory is, because they do distort it a lot, queer theory is about taboo kind of sex, pushing the boundaries. And also another thing about pedophilia as well, it's not always, watching child porn. The reason that it pushes people to go out and commit acts of pedophilia is because it's also about the rush of doing something you're not allowed to do. That's another thing.
It's the adrenaline.
Exactly. Now, queer theory is all about pedophilia, bestiality, the disgusting side of sex. It's also about sado, right? And as you can see, they're pushing sadomasochism now. We could see. Do you reckon we could see them pushing bestiality soon, just like Germany did?
Oh, absolutely. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and I mean, some people have strong opinions on bestiality, saying that we should allow it because they're just animals, but
they're just animals. That'll rile the vegans up.
Do you know what? To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the vegans were the ones pushing for it.
Yeah, probably.
Sex with animals.
I know a kid in well, it's rumored. He denied it, but it was a joke for so long that I'm not sure if it's a lie or not. But he got off his dog. He wanked his dog off apparently.
Who did that?
One of my friends from high school.
Oh right, I thought you was right.
Not someone I'm close to.
That's a big sign if a kid's doing stuff like that to a dog as well. That could be a sign of sexual abuse, and in this day and age, that's very common.
Yeah.
But sadomasochism, right? Now they've laid it out, as you can see, nice and colourful, all fun, right?
Childlike.
Exactly, promoting it to kids, right? Now you'll agree with me when I read through this. This is not stuff to be teaching kids.
I already agree.
Serves 2 or more ingredients: sadist, which gives pain. So I'm guessing it's like BDSM. Masochist receives pain, and or a switch, somebody who likes to give/receive pain. And then pain, humiliation, a shit ton of consent. Optional toys like whips and chains. Substitutions, other forms of kink, roleplay, or bondage. Can use props. Prep time, as long as it takes, sometimes longer and better. Get consent. Ongoing consent and communication is important. Talk about what you'd like before you getting started, right? And then let's have a look at fisting, right? Right, it doesn't. Oh, you can't see much of that, right? Okay, let's go back up. Where's the interesting one? We need an interesting one, right? Rimming. Ingredients.
I bet my parents are loving this live.
Are they watching?
Yeah, they're on my channel. They're Mr. 007 Tank Man and Big Mama.
I'm sorry to read through this, but
I was trying to explain to them age play the other day. They still don't get it.
Do they not get it?
No, they don't understand age play. They or age regression as well. They keep mistaking them for each other.
Right, I'm not sure what age regression is. For anyone who's interested as well, age play is basically a form of pornography where usually the female pretends to be a young child or a baby, sometimes wears nappies, stuff like that. Because we've done a lot of investigating here at Voice of Wales, we are still traumatized. All the comment section will be very pedophilic, right? You will see a lot of that. So what's age regression then?
Age regression is usually a coping mechanism where they'll act younger than what they are to just basically cope. So you'll get these people dressing younger or speaking in like a very high pitched voice, or like wearing nappies still as a result from like sexual trauma that they induce for a child, and it's just their way of coping.
Wow, that it's really deep stuff, and I know this might be a bit much for a lot of the people who are watching tonight, but it's something that does need to be discussed, because a lot of the time we're discussing immigration or all the other issues in the world, but and we do discuss RSE, but it's something that we don't discuss enough, because this is coming in very, very slowly and it's creeping in, just like how you have the social credit system being piloted in Sunderland, you then have the climate lockdowns in Oxford. Social credit system is creeping its way in, but so is pedophilia, so is child sex being not okay, but being normalized. And I mean, you see some of this stuff, and this is stuff that you would never teach to your child. And the argument that they could be coming from homes that don't give a shit about them, and so it's better that they learn it in school. I would argue that they're safer learning it at home than in school, where any job that involves children, there will always be the risk of pedophiles. Yeah, is that?
Yeah. I think so. With teachers, you find loads of teachers being done for assaulting children and things like that. It's very easy to hide pedophilia in a school. If you get the trust of everyone else, it would be very easy to at least hide your sexual fantasies. Maybe not playing them out, but the thoughts are still there. It would be very easy.
Yeah. Exactly, and when they're teaching this kind of stuff to kids, it's going to give them more opportunities, I would have thought, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Right. You get like people like just running off randomly to the bathrooms. I know in my school, like no one did PE, so yeah, like if a teacher caught one of those kids and like brought them to detention, quote unquote, it is. I can see many opportunities for teachers to do such things to kids.
Yeah, for definite. And like let's read this quickly and then we'll move on so we don't upset your parents too much.
They're fine.
Ingredients: tongue, bum, dental dam, a shit ton of consent, substitutions, oral sex, notes, and many people feel this recipe works best when all necessary pots and pans have been cleaned thoroughly beforehand. You can tell it's worded towards children, right?
Yeah,
if
definitely.
Concerned about cleanliness, you might consider a shower before rimming. Prep/cook time, as long as it takes. Steps: get consent, dive on down, use your tongue or mouth to stimulate bumhole area, throw in a finger if the receiver is into it. Remember to ask for continued consent.
Brilliant. Have fun, 9-year-olds.
And well, this is it as well, right? It's now they talk a lot about consent on there. Yeah. Are you aware of what affirmative consent is?
I think I was taught about it, but just remind me.
So it means yes. It basically says yes means yes.
Oh yeah.
So this is what they're teaching to children now, is that yes means yes. They're not teaching them no means no. They're teaching them yes means yes. Now, you're teaching that to children who are under the age of consent. Is that appropriate?
No.
It's not. And the reasons is because if you're teaching a kid that yes means yes and not no means no, then if they're put in a situation where there's a predator, they're not going to be able to say no, even though
Yeah,
it may not help. They're teaching kids to say yes.
They've never been taught to. Just like to interject, Big Mama, my mum, she made a good point. I actually completely forgot about this, so thank you. At my school, the one of the people from the behavioral team, and he was also a therapist for a lot of people. He was having sex with the year 9. This is a person who is about 30, I think he was 34 years old, had his own kids. And things like that, and he was having sex with someone since year 9, actually. So they'd already left by the time that this was found out. But
was he fired?
Yes.
Right. And so year 9, how old's that? Is that
14?
14. Right.
Yeah.
So very, very, very young. How old was the teacher? Sorry.
Like 30s, 40s, like between those ages.
Right. And this is an interesting thing as well. Was it the acts being committed on school premises, or were they being committed outside?
I think it was outside, but I'm not too sure. But I think it was outside, because I know he did speak to a lot of kids outside of school, and just randomly go and see them to make sure they're okay. Of course.
Yeah. See, that's another bigger issue as well. Kids who are in vulnerable care homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for definite. It's really weird stuff, and obviously we've all been hearing about Balenciaga recently. 2 seconds. I need to set this to Latin. So, do you know what Balenciaga means in Latin?
Isn't it like yeah, that Baal is a king. I was gonna say all hail Baal, but that was close enough.
Yeah. Well, Baal is the king. Now, we see a lot of satanic kind of stuff everywhere, don't we? And Satanism is kind of very much tied to pedophilia as well, and taboo subject like queer theory. So if you don't know who Baal is, which you probably all do, Baal, usually also sometimes called Baal, is one of seven princesses of hell in Christian demonology. He's mentioned widely in the Old Testament as the primary pagan idol of the I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Often associated with the heaven goddess Ashtaroth. His name is a Northwest Semitic word and title meaning master or lord. Right, so interesting thing there. Balenciaga, from a start, we know is massively tied to Satanism, at least just in the name. Now, everyone's seen this, so I don't need to go too much into this with these disgusting BDSM style pictures and children holding them. But have you scrolling through these? Because I sent you a few links. I wasn't sure if you went through them.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So, Lotta Volkova is the fashion designer that worked for Balenciaga. Now, they said the images these images that came out were a mistake, and they were posted on accident. But that can't be the case when you've got fashion designers, artists, photographers, PR team, publicists, etc. Right? All working together, and they work together then to make the decision as to what will be released and what isn't. So do you reckon it was a mistake, first of all?
No. Well, even if it was a mistake, why are they taking photos like that in the first place? Like, what is the purpose? If it wasn't for posting online to your following, why are you taking those photos in the first place with clearly a professional photographer?
Yeah. Well, for definite. I'm wondering though whether this was just a clear chance, a clear opportunity for them to either hide what the fact they're all paedophiles in plain sight, which we'll get into in a second, or whether they're trying to normalize pedophilia.
Could be both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at this stuff, right? So this is some of the stuff. If you guys haven't seen it, right, this is one of them. I'm guessing that's something to do with abortion. I'm not too sure. We all know Satanists do love their abortions. Now here are some of the other pictures. You can see. I don't know if you just saw that, by the way.
Yeah.
I pressed OK, it told me that these images might be inappropriate. Right. Stuff like this, which they consider art, which was all taken from her Instagram before deleted. Yeah. So some more stuff. Satanic image there.
Brilliant.
Yep. I think those were all the images, which is a bit like Maria Abramovich, who was a spirit cooker. Yeah. And there are more images as well, but Lotta Volkova then worked for a company called Mui to then bring out this image. And I want to know what your thoughts are on this. What do you think this is it meant to be an image of?
I don't know, but that kid looks ready. That's just all I will say.
Yeah. Now, the way I looked at this, child sex trafficking, it looked like.
Yeah.
You've got the kid there on a bed in a very
horrible house.
Yeah, very horrible house. The man's looking through the door. She's got a handbag on there. You can see the white is representing innocence. It is just like the trans flag, which has the white in it, which represents innocence and purity, doesn't it? So this image here meant to represent child sex trafficking, and the same fashion designer who worked for Balenciaga is the one who was involved in taking this picture. So do we reckon? Do we reckon it was a mistake, or what are we saying here?
No, I don't think that was a mistake at all. I mean, posting it maybe, but I mean, if it was used in an advertisement, then no.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was a mistake.
Definitely, and I think it's brilliant as well that they're actually like, what is it? Their stores. No one's going to the stores anymore. I think they're massively declining towards going bankrupt, which is just brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then you have Kim Kardashian, who by the way, divorced Kanye West over a MAGA hat, who is trying to sort things out with the pedophiles at Balenciaga, and you're thinking, what the fuck? She has children. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You find a lot of this as well. It's like a lot of the people who are supporting pedophilia unfortunately have kids. It's like, okay, fair enough with your opinion, but what if someone hurt your child? Would you still have the same thoughts? Probably not, but it'd be shocking because both of them are acting as if they would.
Yeah. Well, it's just damage control, isn't it? They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
If they did, then Kim Kardashian would have pulled out of a deal with them by now. But they also, by the way, I don't know if you know this. They so this was before the Balenciaga controversy. Balenciaga had actually pulled their contract with Kanye West because of what he was saying online. So I find it really ironic that they pulled out of a contract with Kanye West over free speech, but they're okay with let's post pictures of a young child holding BDSM kind of outfits. That's really appropriate.
Absolutely, yeah. Like especially since she looks no older than 10. Couldn't get more appropriate than that.
For definite. Now this is the last thing of this evening anyway. I didn't really prepare much. It's almost Christmas, and I just wanted to talk about this as a sole topic. So the Balenciaga scandal continues. The CEO of Balenciaga's parent company, Karen, sells sickening child sex mannequins. This is just one example. The CEO's name is Franco Henry Pinal. Is that right? Husband.
I'd say Francois. Maybe.
Francois.
Yeah, maybe.
Francois Henry Pinal.
Yeah.
Right, I'm sorry.
Maybe. We're British, everyone. Well, British and Welsh, everyone.
Right, so you made a mistake there. Wales is British.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm tired. Okay.
No, it's fine. A lot of English people don't even know where Wales is on a map, so that's
that is ridiculous,
fine.
to be honest.
So these are some of the child sex dolls, right? Jake and Dino's Chapman, £115,000 that was sold for. These are the two people here who make the products. This is another one.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Really fucked up stuff, innit?
Yeah.
Now, this obviously ties in directly with Balenciaga, as it says up here. The CEO of Balenciaga's parent company also sells these, right? Then you also have this as
Oh
well.
my god.
Yep. That. Look at the way they're deformed as well. They're basically, right? So you see like this one here. I want to zoom in. I don't know if we can. Oh, we can't. Right. I'm gonna have to save it. And then we're gonna go through it 2 secs. Oh no, I can open the file here. Right. So I shouldn't be I really don't want to zoom into that, but yeah.
Yeah.
So as you can see the face here, right, the 2 heads. Look what's in between.
Yeah.
Right, so it's really, really disgusting stuff. Yeah, I really didn't want to zoom into that actually because I feel like that's really. I feel like I could get arrested. Like I feel like I've just committed an illegal act just
Yeah,
by
that is
looking
the
at it.
thing. Like, that is the thing. How do these people feel so innocent and fine with putting out like photos and videos such as that? Like, something's wrong. How do they not know? Well, they
Exactly.
probably actually do feel it, and they're just pushed into it for some of them. But
Exactly, and then how can celebrities who love to virtue signal about Ukraine and everything else, and tell us what we should say online about our political views? How are they okay with working for a company that financially supports people who sells products like this?
yeah, well, it's because if you don't like this, you're transphobic and racist
Yeah, well,
automatically.
I'm also xenophobic, Islamophobic.
Anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I'm an anti-Semitic Zionist, actually. Yeah, I work for Israel as well as being an anti-Semite.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what's happening, right?
yeah. That's why we don't like this.
Yeah.
What a weird world.
Yeah, and then we went through that one, and I can't like these disgusting things like. Right. Well, we've gone through everything we've meant to go through today, but I mean, any last thoughts on all of that disgusting crap?
Stop normalizing paedophilia with little innuendos and things that look harmless but clearly aren't.
Yeah,
That is my lasting words.
absolutely. But with that, thank you so much for coming on today, Sid.
Thank you for
Really
having me.
quickly, where can people find you if they want to follow you?
So under everything is Sits and Sid. YouTube, Twitter. You probably wouldn't find me on Facebook through Sits and Sid, but Sydney Jones on Facebook. Did I say Odyssey already? Telegram. I think those are the main ones.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Sid, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Cheers. So yeah, thank you to Sid for coming on. I think we're done for today now. Anyway, I just wanted to go through that and focus on a sole topic rather than go through the news of the week. We will. I'm not here next week. I might be running a live now. Obviously, I was gonna have Gareth Icon yesterday. I think it was. Oh no, Tuesday. Sorry, but it was his birthday. Yeah, so it was yesterday. It was his birthday. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to ask you to do that. We're just going to rearrange for next week. So I'm hoping to have him on next week and just do an interview of him and get that out instead of doing a live stream. So that's my plan now. That's what I'm going to do. So yeah, thank you, everyone. So yeah, no actual live next week, just my interview with Gareth Ike. But yeah, good night, everyone, and see you all in the next one. Cheers.